The aerating is done. So the next step is apply the starter fertilizer and apply the grass seed. This is everything you need right here to accomplish this. Obviously, you're gonna need some fertilizer, you're gonna need some grass seed, have an earthway spreader right here. If you don't have a spreader, this is a very quality built spreader at a decent price. And then I have a bucket because I may want to sprinkle a little bit of grass seed in, a little extra grass seed in bare spots, thin spots, stuff like that. And if you've ever tried to grab grass seed out of a bag like that, it is really frustrating. So as far as the grass seed goes, this is going to depend on where you live and the grass types in your area. I'm using a tall fescue blend by Brug that has the RTF, so it's rhizotomous, meaning that it has rhizomes that will shoot out along under the soil surface and potentially repair and fill in bare spots and stuff like that. That's what Brug claims. It's the only seed that can do that, and I've just had really good luck with this seed, this brand of seed, and I really like the RTF line. You do pay for it, but I feel it's worth it. Since this is a starter fertilizer, real quickly, just wanted to kind of go over what that means, starter fertilizer. The numbers on this fertilizer are 16, 28, 12. So that's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So the nitrogen is basically just like fuel for your grass. So that's gonna encourage growth and stuff like that. The middle number is really great for establishing turf. That's why this is a starter fertilizer with a really high middle number. And your final number, the potassium, is basically like overall turf health and stuff like that. This bag right here has 30% of the nitrogen coated in slow release. So all of it will not immediately release into the soil as it gets wet, rains, watering, as I will be watering since I'm applying seed. That nitrogen will be released over time into the soil, so it's not going to be just a rapid growth spurt that you may have experienced with the lawn service or applying fertilizer on your own. But there's really not much to using the spreader right here. One thing I did want to cover is the settings. You can shoot the camera down in there. There's different settings. See, I'm open right now. This is closed. When we open, the little slots right there are only opening a tad bit, and that is being controlled on this spreader by this setting right here. So what I did is I referenced the information on the back of the bag of fertilizer, and I had to actually pull a diagram for spreader settings for Earthway, the manufacturer of this spreader, to determine what I should set the spreader at. And this little gauge right here correlates to how many pounds per 1,000 square feet you're gonna apply. So I am overseeding. I want to overseed at a rate of 3 to 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet. And I'm not exactly sure what the rate on this fertilizer is. It may say on the bag. We're gonna be applying this at 3.1 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So just reference the products you have and the spreader you have to determine how wide you should open the little gap there that controls how much product's gonna come out. And then all there really is to it is walking in straight lines. I recommend kind of sectioning off the lawn, because very rarely are you working with a perfect square or rectangle or something like that that would make it nice and easy. So right here I'm gonna make nice long passes as straight as I can be. I got some trees to deal with. We have some curves on the edges and stuff like that. So you just need to pay attention as you're going. But ideally your spreader is gonna spread the product out, you know, maybe 6, maybe 8 feet, something like that. You're typically gonna wanna overlap your passes. So if it spreads out to here, say this is the edge of where our product path is spreading to, when we make our return pass, we're gonna have our spreader at that spot, and you know, so on and so forth. We'll spread to there, we'll come back, and then we'll be spreading back to where we were last time. And that just helps get an even coverage, make sure you don't miss any spots, make sure spots don't get too much. It's just a better method of doing than trying to just make passes that perfectly butt up to each other with no overlap. You greatly increase the chance of striping your lawn where parts don't get any fertilizer and parts get too much fertilizer, and you can really mess up a lawn doing that. So overlapping passes is the way to go. But other than that, we just need to dump the product in, one product at a time, obviously. So I'll be walking the whole lawn twice with the spreader, once spreading the fertilizer, once spreading the seed, and then after that, all I gotta do is water. Be careful with your drone. I don't want to see you crash it. Ready? Yep. As the video is showing me spreading the fertilizer and grass seed, I want to do a little commentary, tell you a little bit more about the thought process and things you should know doing this. So this is my very first pass. I paralleled the street right there, and now I am coming back, spreading back to where my tires were on the first pass, and so on and so forth. I'm overlapping my passes. This is my first section of the lawn that I'm doing. This is the left side of the house. I will stop when I get to the edge of the house right there, and then I'm gonna do the front in the side of the U of the driveway right here. Then I'm gonna do the right side of the driveway, and then I'll get to the back of the house. So I'm sectioning it off so I remember where I have and have not spread the fertilizer yet. One thing I failed to mention is when you engage and open up the slots at the bottom of your spreader, you want it to be moving at that point. You do not want to open it and just have product dumping out into the auger, and then you push it and a bunch flies out all at once. That is not going to be an even application. So it's kind of hard to tell. I should have done a better job doing this, but like I went past onto the driveway and then I came back because I'm opening up the chute right when I get to the edge of the driveway. My wheels are already moving. So right there, I was starting on the street, and same concept. I was moving on the street before I opened the chute right when I hit the turf, and my wheels were spinning. My auger was already turning, that type of deal. So I'm spreading a starter fertilizer here. If you are looking at applying fertilizer and doing the weed control to your lawn yourself, you don't want to apply a starter fertilizer every time. You're going to want to do a little research. Check out your state's corporate extension office website. I believe every state has one, and it's going to have a bunch of great information specific to your area, your climate, your grass types, all that kind of stuff. So the corporate extension office is a great free resource if you are the DIY type. When it comes to should you treat your lawn yourself or hire a service, I think it's almost a crapshoot as far as buying the products and the tools you'll need, such as a spreader, hand can sprayer, stuff like this, versus the cost of the product of what you'll pay as a homeowner versus discounts a company may get buying in bulk. That's going to be a toss-up. I think cost-wise, especially if you value your time as a homeowner, it's a crapshoot as to whether you should hire a service or do it yourself. Me, I'm a lawn care guy. I'm doing mine myself, even though I don't have my lawn care business anymore. This is not repeat footage on the screen right now. I am spreading the grass seed at this point. So like I mentioned earlier, you do not dump both products into your spreader at once. That would make getting an even application about impossible. It's one at a time. I had to change the spreader settings because the grass seed is a lighter product. It was not coming out at the rate it should at the spreader setting that it was. And actually, I had it set per what the bag said and my spreader setting said, and I had to increase it. So don't trust it. Just know you don't want to apply too much grass seed. I'll touch on that a little later in the video. One thing I really wanted to talk about in this video that I don't talk about elsewhere is watering. So if you are sowing grass seed at any point in time, like you have got to be prepared to water. Like it is so very important. You really have to baby the grass seed. So when it is like actual grass seed, you want to water ideally morning and night and get the top ½ inch into the soil wet. The whole concept here is keep the seed moist. If the grass seed gets moist and dries out and get moist and dries out and gets moist and dries out, the seed's going to go bad. It's going to ruin the seed and it's not going to germinate for you, okay? It's going to be a complete waste. So once the seed gets wet, that is like there's no turning back at that point. You need to get on a watering regimen and stick to it. And that's probably going to be a solid 2 weeks of watering, preferably every morning and night. So when it's grass seed, you want it to stay moist. You just want to get the ground a little bit wet so that seed stays moist. Once the seed germinates and you have baby grass plants everywhere and you really don't think a whole lot more seed is going to germinate, at this point you want to start watering the young grass really just as if it was an established lawn. And the difference between watering grass seed and established lawn is you want to encourage a deep root system by watering each area longer. So you want to water less frequently, but deeper every watering. So the whole idea here is you allow the water to soak into the soil 3-4 inches, something like that. So the roots will dig down into the soil to retrieve the water and the nutrients contained within, and the fuller and deeper and more vast you can get the root system of your turf, the better it is going to look on top. So that's that. The best weed control there is nice thick turf. So if you can get your turf nice and thick, your weed problems are going to be severely limited just because of that, because the grass is just going to crowd the weeds out. I had a really bad weed problem in my lawn, like violets everywhere, clover, dandelions, plantain. I mean, my lawn had not been treated for years before I moved into this house last fall. So I had just previously done 2 hand can sprays of my entire lawn with Tenacity. Tenacity is my favorite weed control product. Link down below. Link for the spreader down below if you need a spreader. We actually sell really nice hand cans at iGo Pro Lawn Supply. But Tenacity is an awesome product for weed control, for one, because it controls nutsedge, crabgrass, and just about every type of broadleaf weed out there. And it's safe for grass seed and young grass. So you can see why it's awesome. Most herbicides like a 2,4-D or something like that is going to kill grass seed and young grass. But Tenacity will not harm it, assuming you're applying it at the recommended rate and all that kind of stuff. Follow the instructions on the label. It's very simple. They send you a little syringe, which makes measuring it very easy and all this kind of stuff. But I was able to, get the weeds out of the way before I seeded, because I didn't want my young grass seed and grass plants competing with weeds, because they're going to lose like every time. So, get your weeds in check and then aerate, spread some fertilizer, seed, and water, and then you are good to go.
I am the cameraman.
Okay, all of the fertilizer and grass seed has been spread. That's getting spread with the broadcast spreader. A couple things I wanted to note about the spreader that I didn't talk about yet is the drive wheel. If you notice, if the right wheel, if you can get in front and show that thing spins, we're not spinning this spreader. The right wheel is not the drive wheel. The left wheel is the drive wheel. So if you're in a tight spot, you want to, maneuver your spreader like this with this spreader. Whichever drive wheel is, if it's the right or the left on your spreader, you want to make sure that wheel stays in contact with the ground so your rotor down there continues to spin. The grate. When we had the grate in, the fertilizer flowed right through it, no problem. worked as expected. All the product made its way down there into the bucket where it could reach the auger and spread out. The grass seed, being lighter and oblong shape, it just sat on top of the grate. So the purpose of this grate is to catch clumps. If you've ever had a bag of fertilizer get wet on you, it will clump up, and when you dump it in, the grate will keep the clumps on top. You could either break them up and push them through, or you could remove them. But the last thing you want is a clump down there at the hole at the bottom of your spreader, and then you have all of this product in here. You have a clump down at the bottom, and you're gonna have to dump out your whole spreader to get the little clump out of the bottom because nothing's gonna spread out. I don't know how easy it was to tell from the footage, but I made many more passes spreading the grass seed as compared to spreading the fertilizer. And the reason being is the swath of the spread was much narrower with the grass seed because, once again, it's a lighter product, it didn't spread as far. So I think those were the main things I wanted to cover. So at this point, all I want to do is spread a little extra grass seed in thin and bare areas. And another thing is, if we can zoom in kind of close, maybe right in this area would be a good area. If you notice, we have grass seeds, you know, spread out sporadically. It's not a covering of grass seed. If you coat the soil surface with grass seed, that grass is going to be competing with itself and killing itself out, and that's not ideal. So my Barenbrug seed that I used, the overseed rate was 7 to 8 pounds per 1,000 square feet, or the seed rate was 7 to 8 pounds. I am overseeding because I already have an established lawn that I am adding additional grass seed to. Typically you'll do this with an aeration and overseed. In that scenario, you cut the seed rate in half for an overseed rate. So that's why I wanted to put down 3.5 to 4 pounds of seed per 1,000 square feet. Based on the square footage of my lawn and how much product of the fert and seed that I have left, came really close to nailing the recommended application rate. So pretty happy about that. So this would be a thin area. If you see the weed control video, this used to be all violets. So at this point, I feel this area where it's nice and thin needs a little bit of extra seed, because we are kind of in between an overseed and a seeding bare ground state in this area. I have patches of bare spots throughout the lawn that I want to add a little additional seed to as well. You may have noticed I spread a little bit of seed into the beds out front. I am going to be converting those beds to grassed areas, minus the one with the mailbox and the tree out there. So that is why I wasn't super careful about not getting any grass seed into mulch beds. I promise you, you get a speck of grass seed in a mulch bed and you're gonna grow grass, like guaranteed it's gonna happen. So that's another reason to take the bucket. And for example, right here, this isn't exactly a mulch bed, but I would wanna throw my seed out from here, being careful not to get my seed into the bed area. So anywhere you have a mulch bed, you want to do that. Your broadcast spreader very well may have a piece that can drop down here and would not allow your spreader to spread to the right, for example. It would force everything to the left. In that case, you can get a little closer to your beds. My spreader doesn't have it, so you know, I just had to adjust accordingly and manually throw out extra seed where needed along beds. But when you're spreading grass seed, you stay kind of high and just let it fall down. It'll kind of naturally disperse on its own for you. And like anything else, mowing, spraying a lawn, spreading fertilizer, spraying weeds, I'm just creating a little pattern here, going back and forth and making sure I cover the whole entire area I'm trying to target at this time. walk with me and we'll just keep recording. Find some thin and bare spots. A little thin right there. A little extra.